You know, every year our planet produces just an insane amount of food. We're talking millions upon millions of tons of fruits and vegetables. But have you ever really stopped to think about the incredible journey it takes just to get from the farm to your table? It's this massive, complex dance against time. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on how it actually all gets done.
So that leads to the big question, right? We've got more people to feed than ever, but at the same time, we have less land to work with, and farm labor isn't exactly easy to come by. So, how in the world do we manage this incredible feat of harvesting everything at just the right moment to get that perfect quality we all expect?
Well, the answer isn't as simple as, robots are taking over. It's actually a really cool partnership between timeless human skill and incredible machine power. See, the real story here is all about synergy, knowing exactly when you need that irreplaceable human touch and when it's time to unleash the full force of modern technology. So first up, let's talk about where you just can't beat the human touch. For some of our absolute favorite foods, there's just no machine on earth that can replicate the judgment, the gentleness, and the pure skill of a human worker. A perfect example? The mango. Its skin is super thin, the flesh is soft, and it bruises so easily. One wrong move, one little bump, and the quality of that fruit is totally ruined. This is a job that demands a delicate, precise touch that a machine just, well, it can't do that. Not yet anyway. And to handle this delicate process at scale, farmers have come up with this pretty clever and graceful technique. For mangoes way up in the treetops, they use these long poles with a little net on the end. It takes real skill to gently nudge the stem just right so the mango detaches and falls perfectly into the bag. It's kind of beautiful to watch. Okay, now here's where your mind is going to explode. Remember that super delicate one-by-one process? Now try to imagine doing that 80 times million tons of times. Yep, that's the global mango harvest. It's an absolutely staggering amount of fruit, and pretty much every single one of them requires that same moment of individual care to make it to our stores. Wow. And hey, it's not just mangoes, not by a long shot. For figs, a worker actually needs to feel for the right softness. For a giant jackfruit, it takes real courage and strength to climb a tree with a sharp knife. For asparagus, it means hours of stooping over to cut each spear perfectly at ground level. And check out pomegranates. A skilled picker can harvest almost one per minute, all day long. Each of these requires a uniquely human skill. Okay, so what if you could take that incredible human skill, but make it, a little easier, a lot more efficient? This is where technology steps in, not to replace people, but to act as a powerful assistant. The watermelon harvest is such a perfect example of this. The old way was a long human chain, with farmers passing these heavy watermelons from person to person. It was slow and totally exhausting work. Now, workers can just place the melons on a mobile conveyor that zips them straight to the truck. You still have that human judgment to pick the perfectly ripe melon, but with a huge boost in speed and way less backbreaking labor. It's a night and day difference. And why does a simple upgrade like this matter so much? Well, because when a single country like China is harvesting over 14 million tons of watermelons a year, that little conveyor belt isn't just a convenience. It's an absolute economic game changer. It's what makes the entire operation possible on such a massive scale. And here's another really cool piece of assistive tech, the vibrating pole. It's used for crops like olives. You press this vibrating head against a branch, and it sends these high-frequency vibrations all the way up. It shakes the ripe olives loose, and it literally makes them rain down onto tarps waiting below. So much faster than picking by hand. But you still need a person to guide the tool from tree to tree. And what's really cool is how they've adapted this same idea for even more delicate fruit. For raspberries, big harvesters drive along the rows, and they use these super gentle vibrations to shake only the ripe berries loose onto a conveyor. It's a fantastic blend of mechanical force and careful human oversight. All right, so we've seen the delicate touch, and we've seen technology giving a helping hand. Now, let's bring out the big guns. These are the crops where you can unleash the full, awesome power of mechanization to harvest at a scale that would be completely impossible otherwise. Let's talk about the modern potato harvester. You might think it just digs up potatoes, but no way. It's way more accurate to call it a factory on wheels. I mean, this single piece of equipment is basically a complex, multi-stage processing plant that just happens to move across a field. And here's how that factory works. First up, bam! Digging blades just lift everything right out of the ground. Potatoes, dirt, rocks, the whole shebang.
Then, a vibrating conveyor system acts like a giant sieve, shaking all the soil and stones away. And finally, the clean potatoes are moved into a container ready to go. Dig, sift, and collect, all in one continuous, powerful motion.
And then for orchards, you've got this absolute beast of a machine, the tree shaker. And yeah, it does exactly what it sounds like. It rolls up to a tree, clamps onto the trunk, and uses these intense vibrations to shake every last ripe nut or fruit loose in just a matter of seconds.
I mean, this one machine has totally changed the game for so many crops. For pistachios, you can harvest an entire orchard in just a few hours. For cherries and olives, a built-in tarp unfolds to catch everything as it falls. It is a stunning display of raw power and efficiency. And of course, we can't forget the massive combine harvesters used for grains like buckwheat. These things are the original factories on wheels, doing multiple jobs at once, cutting the stalks, threshing them to separate the seeds, and screening out all the junk, all while it's still moving across the field. Okay, so we've gone from a gentle human hand all the way to these massive, powerful machines. What does it all add up to, Where is all of this headed for the future of our food? And here's the key takeaway. The future here isn't about replacing people. Not at all. It's about making a smart, strategic choice for each and every crop. It's about building a sustainable system that really leverages the best of both worlds, the irreplaceable judgment of a person and the tireless power of a machine. And this chart right here, it just drives the whole point home. On one end, you've got millions of tons of figs and pomegranates that still rely completely on skilled hands. But then you look at a crop like coconuts, often harvested with assistive tools, and the scale just explodes to a massive 62 million tons. It really proves there's no single solution, but an entire spectrum of methods, all working at the same time. And all of this brings us to one final thought. We've seen just how much has already changed. But with AI, robotics, and automation evolving faster than ever, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the harvest going to look like in another 10, 20, or 50 years? How much more transformation is just over the horizon? Definitely something to think about.